T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Own it, Kong. I own it. It did.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Que pasa? Welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. My name is TK Trinidad. We made it to Friday, and what a week! It's been a week for me. I don't know much about y'all, but we're heading into the home run, the home plate. I don't know. We coming to the end of the year. I don't know. We out here for 2023, but I'm not alone. Professor's in the building. And I'm learning so much information about him that I will not tell him if he wants to. But it's kind of one of those things when, and I'm sure the folks in the chat, if you hear day in and day out with us, you learn so many things about people that you hang out with all the time. So I'm learning so much stuff that I had no idea. I was like, oh, okay, this is what we doing. You know? Professor indeed.
Oh boy, that's hilarious. That is hilarious. I am doing good. Happy Veterans Day to all who have served.
Correct. Yep.
You know, we appreciate you. And as a reminder to everyone, Veterans Day and Memorial Day are not the same day. Veterans Day is for all who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces in some capacity. Memorial Day is for those who made the ultimate sacrifice in combat. So that's the difference. I know people who get them confused all the time. So that's the difference. So there you go. Happy Veterans Day to everyone who's
Happy Veterans Day, Professor, leading with the word. And with that being said, hey, Casey, how you doing? With that being said, our first segment,
the top rope.
Boy, oh boy. It's funny we would use Kane's voice for that because Kane actually deemed this person the heel of the day on Wednesday, that being the road dog Jesse James, who was deemed heel of the day because he said that, you know, he felt like Bret Hart was not a great wrestler and he felt like he was a better sports entertainer than Bret Hart. You can imagine that. So that earned him heel of the day status on Wednesday. Well, he is apparently doubled down. You know, he's not in this school of, nah, I was wrong, I'll pull back. No, he's decided to add to this in the most recent episode of his own podcast, to where he says, quote, everybody's been really angry at me on Twitter. It's just my opinion. Hyperbole is the verbiage of the day. And everything is the best or the worst. And today I'm the worst. And so I'm sorry. I shared an opinion on a platform I was given in order to share my opinion. You know, this is the kind of foolishness that gets you a 2-time heel of the day. But Road Dogg, I mean, this is that kind of apology that people give when they're wrong, but they're too stubborn and prideful to actually apologize. So they now go on with this half-brained apology that says, you know, if I offended you, I'm sorry. So in this case, I'm not sorry for what I said. I'm sorry I shared an opinion. So,
well, here's the thing.
Yeah.
You know, obviously a lot of people didn't agree with him,
Sure.
but if he feel there's so many different sides to the story. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot of people who didn't agree with him that are not wrestlers and they weren't in the the inner chambers of being wrestlers and all that other
Sure.
stuff. And if
Sure.
he feels that way, like when I read his statement, like I get where you're coming from.
Mhm.
It's just kind of like, all right, I'm gonna say sorry, but I really, I'm sorry for how you're feeling, but
Right.
at the
Right.
end of the day, this is how I feel. And there are times, and this is precisely why somebody asked me this, I think like a week ago,
Mm-hmm.
why I don't have like just a show, just talking about, because I would be, nobody wants to hear, nobody, I don't want to say nobody wants to hear what I want to say. It's just that what I'm thinking would get me into so much trouble. And the Canadian in me and the old school journalist in me is like, it's not worth it. I
Mm-hmm.
don't want the headache.
Yeah.
So with that being said, Road Dogg is, completely entitled to think and feel how he wants to feel.
Sure.
And he got the backlash and people feel totally different. But can we really fault him if he feels that way? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those things where it's just like,
Yeah,
all
and
right.
I mean, it's one of those things, to your point, that we get to decide what we want to do with it, right? Like, he's certainly entitled to feel that way.
Right.
I think for a lot of us, when you make a statement that strong, one then expects us to now, okay, well, what are your facts that help you, really
We're not in a
solidify
fact
that
society
particular
anymore,
point?
though.
Well, but
We don't do facts.
that's just it.
2022.
It is 2022, right? So for those of us relatively reasonable, we're like, we need facts, but he doesn't feel like he has to give facts. And I think that's the interesting thing, where obviously, be it a podcast, be it Twitter or whatever, all of these streets are available for people to give their opinions, whether they are fact or fiction. And then we get to do with them what we would like. So
Mhm.
yeah, here's the other thing. Maybe it was all clickbait, right? Maybe it was just designed to get us to start paying attention to him and paying attention to his podcast and to what he has to say. The interesting thing is, of course, he's right now the vice president of live events over at WWE. I don't think
Mhm.
his job is in jeopardy because he made a statement like this. So for him, if it's not costing him money, I guess he doesn't really care. It's just really interesting. I don't know what led him down that particular road, but it's very it's just like, I
It
mean, do you wake
is.
up one day and say, hey, I'm a better wrestler than Bret Hart? Or really, Bret Hart's not that good. I'm a better sports entertainer
I mean,
than
maybe he's always felt this way. And to Casey's point, Casey's saying, I didn't even know he had a podcast. This is the thing. Now we know he has a podcast, because I didn't know he had a
right.
podcast, but I feel like everybody has a podcast now. So he now has a podcast. He probably got huge numbers. Casey
Mm-hmm.
also saying this dog has fleas and needs to go to bed. JD, what up, JD? Saying old, lukewarm, fuzzy 7-Eleven hot dogs equals Road Dogg. Like, y'all, you guys are amazing,
I
amazingly
love them.
hilarious. But
I love them.
again, I think too, I'm that person that if it doesn't affect my money or my family, it's just like,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay, you feel entitled to that, but the
sure.
proof is in the pudding as far as what we're gonna. I actually did a post just like literally like less than 30 minutes ago. After it's
Mm-hmm.
all said and done and you're gone,
Right.
who's going to talk about you? And not saying that nobody will talk about him, but it will. Think about Lincoln, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody talks about Lincoln, but then everybody else around him, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it is what it is. Do you enjoy the moment? You have a podcast, check it. Hey, check out his podcast. And here we are.
Here we are, Rhodey. Mm-hmm. Who ironically has the job that Jeff Jarrett was fired from, and now Jeff Jarrett has a very similar job over in AEW. So there we go. Very interesting.
This world on the whole is interesting right now, but
It
I
really
don't know
is.
if it is I don't know if it is just because we're now at the age that you're aware of everything. Like, I don't think this is
Mm-hmm.
new. I just feel like, once you start paying taxes, the world gets you have to start paying attention to things.
Yeah.
And when you're not paying attention, when you're not paying taxes, you don't have to pay as much attention per se.
Nope.
So yeah, I feel like, the more taxes I'm paying, I'm just like, what is going on right now? But
It's so
anywho,
intriguing.
I
But then again,
digress.
the same folks. Well, here's the crazy part: the people who were kids when we were kids are adults now. So I do feel like there's some degree of difference that's happening, because something exactly isn't happening the way it was when we were growing up. But that's a whole nother story for another
Take me
day.
back to 16.
Hello, please.
What do we have next?
So from his words, we move to Impact Wrestling, where there's been a lot of rumors about Chelsea Green. Will she stay? Will she go? Everybody's been talking about who might be coming back to WWE. And part of this conversation is because apparently Chelsea Green and her time at Impact has come to an end, as this week she officially bid goodbye to Impact Wrestling. She lost a match to Mickie James, and after that, she ends up walking out of the door and is in a conversation with Deonna Purrazzo, where she says, basically, I was supposed to retire Mickie James, and I'm going home. And so there's a lot of questions in
I'm
terms
gonna
of.
pull it out.
Oh, by all means.
It was quite dramatic. I wanted to
was.
text her and just say, Oscar worthy. Let's do it. Let's see here.
Gianna. Hi. Hey, Chels, where are you going? What are you doing?
I was supposed to beat her.
It's okay.
I was supposed to retire Mickie James, Gianna. I'm
it's
going.
fine. But where? Where are you going?
I'm going home, Gianna.
Why?
I'm going home.
Bravo.
One thing that Impact does really well is when people leave, they give them an exit on camera that makes sense. You know what I mean? And so I dig that about Impact Wrestling. I really, really do. And so now let the speculation begin. Will Chelsea Green actually go home? Or will home mean the WWE? Does home mean wherever, Matt Cardona is? I don't know. But I will say it was a graceful exit from Impact for Chelsea Green.
Yeah, and I feel too with Impact in particular, because she has so much of a history with them. I don't think it's like a goodbye. I feel like, okay, well, she might be doing, or she might be taking a break. We don't really know. All the speculation with WWE, and she did, I think, in the same article that we're referencing, she did, I think it was a couple days ago, she said there's some unfinished business with WWE, and now it's a different place. So anything is possible. What I do know is she looks great in bathing suits. She can wrestle. And I don't think any company will be lucky to have her, because she's a great storyteller. So according to Santana, editor-in-chief for WWT, she said her and Matt are on the NWA card for tomorrow's show. But I feel like NWA is not, well, I don't know. Contracts are always different per person, so you don't know.
And I don't know that that's an exclusive NWA deal. Well, obviously it's not. I mean, she did some Impact work there. So, you know, I go back to this. I remember this past summer when they had Ric Flair's last match pay-per-view, Karrion Kross was on there and had done some work, and literally a week later shows up in WWE. So I think, again, like it's being said, time will certainly tell. But to your point, I think Chelsea Green has certainly made a lot of, dare I say, impact since leaving WWE. Her skills have improved. She's really proven herself to be a major player. And in a WWE right now, particularly when I think about SmackDown's women's roster that's in need of some boosting, I think she would make a welcome addition, again, if that's the route they go. But to your point, wherever she ends up will be a good addition to their roster. So that's good.
Right. And then Santana also saying Chelsea was never actually signed to Impact. So, and then she's also referencing Sammy, Shout to Sammy in the chat, one of our writers. Triple H is lucky I haven't had to make a call, make corporate calls. Look, Sammy, do you have Triple H's number? Please pass it on to me because
Hello. We can make good use of it. I promise.
Yeah, I'm not trying to put anybody's business out there, but I'd be sending emails to WWE, and ooh, that's always a mission. Anywho, congratulations to Chelsea wherever she is. We also know that, again, it's not going to be one of those scenarios where she's just not working. If she doesn't feel like working, that's a choice. But we know that she's going to be working somewhere.
Totally. Absolutely.
What do we have? What do we have next?
Well, we did mention AEW. And so if you've been watching AEW, which by the way, Dynamite the last couple of weeks has been really, really good. AEW has been seemingly hinting at the return of the Elite, that being Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks. Now, they've not been on television, of course, since the suspension from the infamous media scrum, which strangely enough was actually referenced on AEW television this week by MJF. That's another story. But the question now is, will the Elite be returning and in what capacity? So certainly the vignettes we've been seeing are teasing a return potentially for Full Gear, but there's also talk that they could be part of a new reality series. So Warner Brothers Discovery has started filming a behind-the-scenes reality series with AEW at Dynamite events that just started last week. It's supposed to go on for about 6 or 7 weeks or so. So if these guys are backstage for these shows, it's highly possible that they could be involved somehow in this new reality series that is being shot. Now, the reality show is set to air in early 2023, which will certainly be after the Elite has made their return, or so it's believed. So this gets very interesting. I mean, all of the things are in place in terms of where AEW seems to stand with people connected to this media scrum, and really the Elite would kind of be the last piece of the puzzle being welcomed back to AEW.
Sammy saying, or excuse me, King Sammy saying they filmed the first episode in Baltimore.
That was last week.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what it's gonna look like because, I'm not necessarily an avid watcher of reality shows. I watch reality shows because I have to watch them for work, which is not a bad thing. But I feel like when reality shows first started, it was like, people really didn't like it because it wasn't scripted TV, and now there was like a big surge where everybody loved reality shows. It was crazy, and now I feel like it's coming kind of back down where it's just like it could be a bit much and or not enough. Like, you get if it's a reality show, you want it like over the top, but if it's kind of like just in the middle, it's not going to make it. And I don't know if obviously the media scrum was very much drama filled, but I don't know if that's going to be the JD.
Oh boy.
I don't know if that's going to be the case with this reality show, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So it is.
Yeah, it's definitely it does not seem like a reality show in the reality show sense of the word, if that makes sense. It certainly seems more like a behind the scenes type of situation that's being done with AEW. What it's going to look like, we don't fully know. We just know that there have been camera crews filming, and they will be filming all the way through mid-December. So it'll be interesting what it turns into. Now, I'm pretty sure it's not a focused reality show on Kenny and the Bucks. I'm pretty sure of that. But I do think they will somehow be involved, particularly if they've been backstage for these last few weeks.
I kind of want a reality show on Tony Khan, though, provided he's not boring, because some people who are, you have people who run businesses and it's just like, they're just always in their head and they make things happen. And then some people are just the opposite. And so I'm curious to see Tony Khan's process as far as how he does business. Is he that person who walks around and ideas come and then people just shake their head because it was a stupid idea? Or, I'm just kind of curious how that dynamic is, And
I'm curious how honest he would be with cameras, there's a part of me that feels like he would obviously put on for cameras. And it's weird. My opinion of him has changed from when we first started seeing him on television a couple of years ago, where then it was just like, okay, he's the silent backer. And he went from
Right.
being the silent backer to, hi, look at me. It's me. It's me. It's Tony Khan. So yeah, so it's going to be interesting. I'm very
Yeah.
intrigued to see what they're going to do with this and where this ends up. You know, is it going to end up on HBO Max? Is it going to end up on TNT or King Sammy and these corporate calls? I don't know what to do with this.
Look, I actually need to send an email to AEW. Send me the number so I could call instead of sending an email. And
Yeah.
then Casey saying his process might not be fit for TV. Can't show how he has can't show how he has so much energy.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's all I got. Yep.
Allegedly.
That's all I got.
It was a Friday. It took me a minute. I was like, wait, what?
Yep. That's what the graphic says.
Thank God for bits. Like when you did that, I'm like, okay, this is okay,
Yeah.
cool.
You're like, what?
Wow. What a
Oh,
week. All
boy.
right. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see what happens with that. I mean, I'm of course most likely, or we'll try because we try to do after shows for everything, but obviously,
Sure.
you know, you can't be everywhere all the time. But we'll see. If it's,
Yeah.
you know, if it's offered at a good time, we might do a little after show or talk about it here.
Right.
Whether
for
it's
sure.
boring or not.
Right.
What do we have? What do we have next?
Well, judging from one part of the media scrum to another part of the media scrum, it seems as though AEW has somehow referenced just about everybody involved in this scrum, except the person who made it all happen. That'd be CM Punk, the former world champion. Well, CM Punk has been kind of quiet with an occasional tweet here and there until last night, where CM Punk showed up at Cage Fury Fighting Championship, an MMA promotion that airs on UFC Fight Pass. And he aired alongside his commentary partner, John Morgan. Yes, CM Punk did commentary at an MMA event last night. Yeah.
I honestly, when I saw this picture, I thought one, it was like a picture from way back when,
Sure.
or it was a skit. I didn't, you know, when you scroll and you just kind of don't read the captions or the title. I literally looked at the picture like, oh, it's like a skit, and then lo and behold,
it's a real thing. So it's very.
Was he any good? Did anybody listen?
Well, you know, the clip that I saw was really more so from the intro versus the actual show. So I don't know whether or not he was any good, but apparently he has done commentary with this particular gentleman before. So it wasn't kind of like, let's just go grab Punk. They have apparently done this before in this particular space. So that's interesting. And, you know, I think, again, all of these things tell us the things that we need to know. The fact that Punk is shown up in an MMA promotion doing commentary while virtually everybody else has been pretty much welcomed back on television in one way or another tells us a lot about what we need to know in terms of the future of CM Punk connected to AEW. So, yeah, it's interesting. What's equally interesting to me is A, CM Punk in a suit. B, CM Punk looks like he, you know, gained 10 years in terms of youth. Like he does not look as old and weary as he had been in the last year of.
That's why I thought it was an older picture.
Exactly. So I don't know if this was, you know, a hair club for men job or if it's just the stress relief of not being under.
Is that company even still around?
I think they are. I mean, you got a bunch of folks doing that kind of, but I mean, literally, he almost looks like a different person. Like to your point, you have to really stare to see, oh wow, that's CM Punk. You know, so we got rid of some of the gray that was in the beard, and yeah. So Punk doing commentary. I'm telling you, the things that 2022 has given us at the start of this year, no one could have ever told me that CM Punk would end the year doing commentary for MMA, no longer with AEW. Would have never seen it coming.
I mean,
At least
the
not
last
this
4 years.
Yeah.
I don't
Oh,
know. At this point where it's just like I'm not even surprised anymore. Like it's no longer shocking because I think everything shocking has happened over the last couple of years where it's just like, okay, we'll just add to the whoever is gonna write the history books of these last 5-ish years, whether it'll
Good
be like
luck.
a 2-pager or a whole textbook, I don't know.
It needs to be a full textbook because
It needs to be,
it's just if you I don't know how one concises it to a mere 2 pages, but stranger
they've done
things have
that with
happened.
slavery, so
Well, then there's that.
Then there's that.
Mhm. Yeah, you're exactly
Do you
right.
want to do so we have a couple people joining.
Okay.
Shadow Wrangler is here. We also have Casey saying he looks very old to him. I mean, yes and no. I think it might be the long hair. I don't know. Maybe it's the suit.
There's
maybe
something.
He's covered up. There's something.
Right.
So Ty saying Punk did commentary and got 10 years younger. AEW had, I mean, he's there. I mean, another stream of income. I think I think I might have either sent this to you either off air or last week or something like that. It always is telling that you can make this, these outlandish remarks and not be affected financially. You know what I'm saying? So if he already had this deal or knew this was a possibility, then it's just like, throw it all to the wind and say whatever is on your mind. So, kudos to him if he knew that was happening. And also kudos to him if his bank account was cool so he could just say whatever. And then kudos to him if he just didn't give an F. So,
but because the other thing is, if all the stories ring true that AEW is trying to find a way to buy out his contract, then the man is still going to get all the money he was promised anyway and only do a third of the work. Come on, that's
like a hyped up EDD check.
I mean,
on
like
steroids.
seriously, it is high key genius, and if only we all could do something quite like that.
I'll just give me 10%. Like,
I'll be good, and I won't say anything outlandish. How about that? Just give me.
There it is.
I'm easy. I'm real easy. But
oh goodness, I'm looking for. Because we want to do our new segment. Oh, here he is.
Oh, yes.
Tidge Wrestling Facts. Yeah.
What do we got?
All right. So our new segment, Vintage Wrestling Facts, where we obviously look at things that are happening on this particular day in wrestling history. There are 2 big things I want to talk about. First, let's go all the way back to 2007. That was before Impact was called Impact. Impact was TNA back then. And on this day in 2007, TNA had their Genesis pay-per-view. Now, at that pay-per-view, there was a main event that was scheduled to happen where Kurt Angle and Kevin Nash were taking on Sting and a mystery partner. The big question would be, who would be the mystery partner? Now, let's take you back to 2007, because back then, TNA was really kind of on their game. TNA was really on the come up. They'd had some crazy matches happen. Some great talent had come in. Certainly when Kurt Angle came in, that was a major acquisition for them. And so people started asking, like, who would be next to head to TNA? Remember, there was no WCW. Certainly there was no AEW. Ring of Honor still was not viewed the way now, or back then, the way that it is now. So who would it be? Fresh off of a WWE run, it is Booker T, who makes his debut in TNA, which is interesting because Booker T obviously had been King Booker. And let's take a look at this real quick.
You can kind of talk through it because we
okay.
YouTube.
So 2007 at the Genesis pay-per-view. Now, the second piece of news, which some might find even more interesting, I only have to go back 2 years for this one. This one was very interesting as we saw the official debut of Jade Cargill in AEW. Now let's take you back then, because this, of course, we're still in the pandemic, the relatively early stages of the pandemic. But at this particular point, AEW, who was centered in Jacksonville, they more about this was what happened as she left the ring, where she was met by Brandy Rhodes, who Brandy Rhodes came out. And let's just say this was probably the most urban presentation we had ever heard from Brandy Rhodes on AEW television. It's a thing.
Urban. All right.
It's a thing when Brandy Rhodes starts calling people heifers. Yeah, that happened in this particular promo. And this ultimately was the setup for Jade Cargill ultimately teaming with Shaquille O'Neal to take on Cody Rhodes and Red Velvet. That match would happen a little bit later on, a few weeks after that, and had a great spot with Cody and Shaq going through the table. And it was interesting because Jade got her first win in that match there. And to this point now, I don't know that people knew that when we saw her then, that 2 years later, she would still be TBS. Well, she would be TBS champion. There was no TBS champion there. She'd still be undefeated, and she'd be the number 5 ranked woman on the PWI 150 for the entire year of 2022. I don't think anybody saw that coming with this particular promo that happened 2 years ago today, where we welcome Jade Cargill officially to the world of pro wrestling.
I don't know if I can agree with you with that, because
okay.
Based off of how AEW treats its women, because they had a pretty extensive roster, and just based on how she entered and how, the promo was, it was her first promo, right?
Sure.
But based off of all the things and based off her experience, it's not like she was, doing wrestling school and then she did the indies and she's been in the indies for 4 or 5 years. Based off of all those little things and how she was introduced, it was almost like a smaller version of how Ronda was introduced into WWE, meaning that Ronda skipped over a lot of stuff because of who she was, whereas Jade skipped over a lot of stuff because of the potential that they were banking on. Like, think of anybody, like, there have been people who were left WWE to come to AEW, and they haven't had that kind of run that Jade has.
I agree.
So I feel like even looking at it back then 2 years ago, it's just kind of like if that happened and then they did nothing with her, then that would have been a loss, because you already started building her from the moment she got there. So,
and it's interesting because I remember that time the fans hated the debut, hated it. And so I don't know that the fans necessarily would be thinking that 2 years later, we'd be talking about Jade potentially as the most popular woman in the company. Now, what AEW had plans for her, I think, is far different than what the people thought. And, obviously looking back, seeing that they put this fresh face to pro wrestling, not just fresh to AEW, but total fresh face to pro wrestling in this high key match as her opening match, involving Shaq, involving Cody. That was a big deal. That was a very, very big deal. And back then, we still didn't have, because at that point, AEW was a year old. So we really didn't have a full track record with what AEW would do with someone like Jade, and we still had not seen the massive WWE influx at that point. So for them, one could make the argument that Jade Cargill could be the experiment that they got right and could be listed as one of the AEW homegrown, home-created stars, which you could argue how many are there, because obviously there were a number of folks that came from independent spaces that were already working towards that and just needed that whole national spotlight. But Jade, again, to your point, no indie work, none of that other stuff. So she had no other place where she applied her craft. So Yeah, so it's interesting. It's interesting, but yeah,
It is
it all
interesting.
happened 2 years ago today.
We have people in the comments.
Uh-oh.
Some of them
Uh-oh.
don't even want to read.
Oh,
We had Ty
boy.
saying Brandy Rose promo felt like blackface and she's black. Look.
Well, to that end, I will say this. I think that was the first of a few very uncomfortable Brandy Rhodes promos that would happen over time. Her promos with Dan Lambert made a lot of us very nervous. Their exchanges as well. So, but I thought that was very, very interesting. We never did get to see those two tied up because shortly thereafter, Brandy would get pregnant, and that would not be a possibility. But yeah.
And then we have JD saying, continue to talk about Jade over and over again. All right, JD. Casey's saying her character has changed a bit since then, which is, evolution.
Absolutely.
And Sammy's saying there was no background on her, just her interrupting Cody.
Yeah.
And there was another one. Oh, JD's saying what's funny about Jade is that there was nothing wrestling related on her gram until then. Actually, I don't agree with that because I believe I did see she might have hinted at something wrestling related before she was signed to AEW because I remember trying to book her for an interview. And then when she got to AEW, I'm like, well, that's a wrap because with AEW and WWE, you have to go through their PR team. So I remember trying to book her before that. So I don't know if she did like a wrestling thing or she was like wrestling adjacent, but I remember seeing her like, holy crap, like, let me try to get her on the show. And and then also too, she's like either half Jamaican or full Jamaican. So, I try to swing the whole Caribbean thing. But literally months, I think within that year, 3 to 4 months later, she was signed to AEW. So there was something there, but not an extensive, like, an indie wrestler.
Yeah. And of course, she does tell the story later on, I think Jericho's podcast, about how, there was interest from NXT for her, which is where I always thought she was going to end up landing. But how that worked out for her is what kind of, again, led her into AEW circles. So, and of course, she was discovered by Mark Henry, who I think doesn't get enough credit in terms of discovering talent, as he also discovered Bianca Belair. So, interesting.
And then imagine if she went to NXT in the end of the Vince McMahon era. Like, we would not get imagine she did that happen. Like, the TBS champion would be somebody totally different. And I mean, they have enough women to do that. So, but it would be something like, and then she'd have to find her way back. And if she wants to go back, because there's a lot of wrestlers that like, I'm good. I did it. I could do something else. So, yeah, well, we'll see what happens with her, but definitely kudos. 2 years in, get that check.
And to your other what if is, would we have ever had a world where Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair coexisted? I don't know.
That would be the ultimate
it would be
Marvel universe, inner universe cartoon type thing. You know what? I don't even know. I've seen so many people come out midway through Black Panther in tears, and I don't know if I really want the emotion right now. I think I might.
I'm not going to give any spoilers because I'm not that kind of guy. You guys know
I am
me.
so that
I don't
person,
like,
but
But I will tell you, it was incredible. I went last night about 10 o'clock. I don't go to the movies late, but I did because I needed to see this movie, and it was everything. It was
speaking of seeing, and I guess everything.
Oh boy! Oh no!
I honestly don't even know how this became like Kane's personal
I don't.
Intro.
He's the only one that has an intro.
It just happened. I remember when Blue was on here. He's like, this dude has his own intro. So it just kind of happened. So here we are. Kane McCoy in the building. Before we get into that happy, I'm trying to go back to the professor's difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. Happy Veterans Day. And because of that, JD knows Kane is a vet.
Oh, I did not know that. Wow. Look
Yes,
at
clearly
Kane.
we
Young
did it for the
Kane.
free Applebee's. Clearly, I served for the free Applebee's and the freebies that we're gonna enjoy today. Look, you can see like I was going through these pictures, and there's a lot of people who are watching WWT live right now and said this guy was somehow in the military with structure and commandments and testaments, and
You would
it gets a
never
little
know.
tricky too. Yeah, man. I served my country, and go back to those pictures real quick, TK. It's clearly that I also was serving looks out here. Oh, great! Look at your boy.
Wow.
You know what
Who
I'm saying?
says that about
You know,
their
serving-
military?
But like, it's so funny because
Cardi B and Kane.
those are like my boot camp pictures, and then the one where I have the Tyler Perry braids. Like the ones that if you're like an inner city youth in a Tyler Perry movie, those braids right there, that's the day that I enlisted. So I was young thugging out here in these streets and decided to change my life for something positive. And I got my boot camp picture, a later picture of my deployment, a couple pictures of deployment and whatnot. So yeah, man, young Navy Kane out here in these streets.
Well, thank you for your service.
Again, free Applebee's, free car washes. We enjoyed all the freebies today. I was like, you guys should have led with that. They were like, you want to serve your country and get free stuff? And I was like, hold on. You should have put the first one first, like get free stuff. So we did that. Clearly today I'm doing a couple of double duties. One of my Veterans Day freebies was also filling in here on 935K Day. So
I know. I just thought of that.
Yeah. I'm juggling multiple hats today. It's been a great day.
Did they at least say Happy Veterans Day to you or thank you for your service or any of that?
I guess this is their way. Like they were like, yo, you signed a contract one time before, you signed another one to be in radio. You're still silly for doing that. So no, but big shouts to the gang. You know, we out here being in the Navy was really fun. Like, not to go too emo, but it's probably top 5 of like one of the greatest things I ever accomplished in my life.
Wow.
To like serve the country and get an honorable discharge. You know, that's the other part. It's like, all right, now I got to finish this cleanly and not go to Leavenworth, which is the prison out there. So,
because very questionable.
Right.
The real reason why I joined the military, why I joined the Navy, was to, of course, fight Sergeant Slaughter at WrestleMania 6. So that was really the whole reason I was inspired about it was the Iran thing, and you know, if Hulk Hogan wasn't available, then I would have been here. You know.
Wow.
I'm sure there's a lot of people at this point who would
swing
take me over Hogan. So, we out here. So shouts to all my fellow veterans. Shouts to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Shouts to all of us who are still here battling through, and hashtag hire vets. You know what I'm saying? If you're a company watching this, there should be a veteran somewhere in your leadership to run everything. And shouts to all the wrestling vets as well. I know there's Bobby Lashley and Montez Ford.
Mm-hmm.
Who else we're missing? Couple of the Lacey Evans, I believe, and Booker T, G.I. Bro.
Well, there it is. Ty-san, why does this dude got an intro? I don't know. That just really happened organic. That was not even planned. We planned a lot of things, but that was not planned. JD, honestly, you are. I don't know what your official title is for the show just yet, but we take nothing to offense.
What is that? By the way, side note: Wednesday at Magical Bowl Camp was calling him. Oh, I was making a cat burglar joke. No, cat. Oh,
he doesn't even remember what happened. I don't even remember what the.
I got it. First of all, I was dressed like a cat burglar, and you know what? Sometimes I'm
you are right now too. So
yeah. Well, it's the motif. I'm a clumsy cat burglar because I drop gems. So bars. No.
No. How do you like?
I mean, he just comes in like this. Like, what's scary is he actually had some really solid things to say today, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't make you too proud and too happy. As it is. Ty, I was gonna go there with the Miz and John Cena. I think Dolph Ziggler, Ted DiBiase was the other one, but he got a dishonorable discharge from WWE. So
why are you guys encouraging him? I don't understand.
Why?
That's right. That's right. And plus, JD, I'm a cat burglar because I steal your hearts every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday.
Wow.
3 o'clock here on the show.
Well, also shout out to I mean, shout out
How
to
you want me
Sean
on that
Dean, the captain Sean Dean over in
captain.
AEW, Carly Bravo as well. They're the infantry, and I do some work with Carly and a few other places. So yeah, a lot of people who are
Oh my goodness.
He did. He actually did
technically
fight
speaking, that's where it comes from. Funny thing, like the character Sergeant Slaughter or Robert Remus, who was Sergeant Slaughter, wasn't in the military, but he played it so well that it was just like, all right, like give him like an honorary thing. By the way, it was WrestleMania 7, not WrestleMania 6. I got my
correct because
Ease
6
him
was
on
Hogan
7.
and Warrior.
And
No, he
Warrior.
said 6.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just
Well, since you're here, that will lead us to, I guess, our well, we might do another story. We'll see.
Heel of the day.
do you want to cover that heel of the day, Kane?
Well, I'm going to be a heel. I'm going to be a face and pass it off back to you, aka
how kind of you.
Well,
Okay.
I mean, this one to me seems so cut and dry. So when you spend lots of money to buy a company, the whole idea is that you and your presence make the company better and not worse. You know, we went through all these things in terms of would Elon Musk buy Twitter or not? And so finally he buys, that's a perfect picture of him. Finally, he buys Twitter. And literally within 1 week of Twitter, you now have verifications for only a mere $7.99 a month, where anybody can be verified. You have people who are now being told if you change your screen name to impersonate someone, you will be suspended indefinitely without Twitter pay. You end up then firing a ton of the Twitter staff internationally and then tell people, oh, by the way, Twitter could go bankrupt. You mean the company you just bought in 2 weeks is about to file bankruptcy? And now today, this whole Twitter Blue verification $7.99 a month thing goes away because it was a horrible idea. This feels like Vince Russo taking over WCW. This just is bad all the way around. Now, I feel bad for the many people. Matter of fact, you know, right before the election, a number of people who were on Twitter who were responsible for ensuring that there was accurate information being shared about the elections were mysteriously let go. All of these things that were happening. And then, of course, Elon Musk hops on the Twitter. Allegedly. Well, they said their jobs were that. So what we do know is this. Elon Musk hopped on Twitter and said how ironic it is that people are complaining about Twitter by using Twitter. Elon Musk, sir. Kind sir. Wow. That's a good one, Ty. That's a good one.
Honestly, truly, they'll just think it's me with a Twitter badge. They're just gonna think that I paid for Twitter Blue and clown me for that. So
well, you can't do that anymore. They're taking it away.
Read what Ty said for
Ty has said, he has said, so theoretically I can be verified as Kane McCoy and post appropriate things that totally don't ruin his character and reputation. How kind of you, Ty.
Yeah,
you could do that. Yeah, you could. You might get suspended for it, but you could do that. But either way, this is the new way of the Twitter world, thanks to Elon Musk. And because of that, Elon Musk, you, sir, are the heel of the day.
Heel of the day!
I mean, you guys smell that? Just something stinks. Something smells musky, if you will, when dealing with Elon Musk. This entire transaction was incorrect. Does that WOMP have a Twitter badge with it for you to use it? Is it verified? Is it a verified WOMP or not? Is it verified WOMP?
Goodness. Well, here, go on, Kane.
I was gonna say, like, when I read it about a week ago, when they said about a week ago, Schmurder, and they're gonna do, I said, wait a minute, so anybody can just get a verification badge if you pay money for it? That is like dangerous, because the first thing I've thought of is You could just make a fake account and put the badge on there. Like, people already get duped by parody accounts anyway. It's how me, TK, and Gerard met. They thought I was actually somebody. Now they're finding out I'm really nobody. But anyway, so they could be duped that way. Imagine what you could do with a blue sign thing.
Yeah.
And we've seen a couple of people getting got with those, tweeting things. You know, I think
JT in Miami was tweeting about it because like now all the people at the blue check mark, you're actually able to talk to other people who have blue check
who are
marks.
verified.
Who are verified.
It's
so
showing up in their mentions now. It's showing up in their mentions, and it's just one of those things where it shows that just because you have money doesn't make you smart. You know what I mean? Like, if it's one thing you can't buy is brains. At least not yet. Who knows? It's probably gonna be in a BBL.
Or if you have enough money, you don't need to be smart, because if you make a mistake, you can claim bankruptcy, which we've seen. And the bankruptcy is a bad thing for poor folks, but bankruptcy for some rich folks, it's not a bad thing. It's just like you just get to hit reset.
You just absolve everything.
Right. So you know, if he does that, then you know it is what it is. It's not a bad thing. And Twitter might still be around if and when he does declare bankruptcy for it. And, you know, maybe, again, I like to play devil's advocate. Maybe he's, you know, when new management comes in, they bring in their own people and they kind of start from scratch. So you kind of always are kind of wary because you don't know if you're going to have a job because it's a new person, new coaches and NFL teams, etc. So maybe it's just kind of clearing house to see everything that's going. And then, you know, we might get a newer, you know, I mean, There's great things about Twitter, but there's also terrible things about Twitter.
I'm going to rebuke the devil's advocate. I'm going to rebuke you and say that exactly is not what's happening at all. Elon Musk has fired people. Now he's trying to bring them back because he's trying to figure out what's going on. Remember, he was forced to buy this. Okay, he didn't want to buy Twitter, and then Twitter was going to sue him for not going through. He got. Okay, he got some Reggie. If you want to use it in street terms, when I had my braids, he got some Reggie. He got a bad batch, and now he's trying to figure out what to do with it. Reggie. He's going to figure out what he's going to do with it, and he's just going to ruin it. I mean, this is the real life Vince McMahon gimmick where like he bought the NWO in to destroy what he built. Well, Elon Musk is going to bring people in to destroy everything, and it's going to be a mess. So we're going to figure out where we're going to go to next, as well as FTX.
TikTok.
That's right. Like,
give
FTX.
them all our information. Give China all our information.
Yeah, man. And Meta just laid a bunch of people off. Although Meta with Facebook, they got like 6 months pay and like health insurance. So shouts to them. Like, I was like, oh man, it must be nice. Okay. I knew a girl who just got hired and fired, and she was like, you know, it's all good. Still got paid. I was like,
she got hired and fired from Facebook, from a Meta?
Yeah, she was hired for like 2 weeks. And then they let her out. And she was like, okay, all good. I just got to change my workplace status on Facebook. So there you go.
Yeah.
But
it's kind of interesting. I know this is a wrestling show, but another radio friend of mine was saying that a lot of the not podcasting, but like a lot of the stuff like Facebook and, you know, even podcasting networks and all that stuff, we're going to see a shift in the next like couple of years because it might not be as sustainable because now you're relying on these companies. Everything is so
we could have told you
now.
That.
Right.
Working in radio, we could have told you that.
Oh, well, I mean, radio was supposed to die like 10 years ago, but everything is so micro. You're relying on all these companies, but are you really hitting all the people? Like, are they downloading, but are they actually listening? Are they actually like listening and actually paying attention to buy the product? All those things. So companies are going to start looking at their bottom line a little bit closer versus the numbers and the verified marks, because sometimes they promote other people because of the verified too.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, there's a reason why, and we're like burying the lead here, but there's a reason why Twitter sold. There's a reason why Jack and all of them cats who had stakes in Twitter was like, here you go, pal. There's a reason why it was for sale and able to be bought anyway, because they knew that their model wasn't sustainable. And they was able to find a sucker, and Elon Musk, they found a sucker and they licked. And now he's trying to figure out, why does he have cavities? Why is his teeth all messed up? I don't understand what I'm going to do. Yeah, because you were a sucker, bro. You got played, and now we're going to be affected from it. But if you just stay on Twitter and tweet as normal, You'll be just fine. Okay, if it goes away, it goes away. But buying a verification badge, come on, dog, don't play yourself.
Well, I mean, you have people who, I mean, I'm sure everybody has gotten the random DM. It's like pay $800. There were people who are buying verification badges.
Yeah, but like that was cool because you was like, okay, you're a scammer, but you're about that life though. Like you are committed to being seen cool on the internet. Now everybody else can do it. It's not as cool. It's
for $8.99 or for $7.99.
I mean, it's a situation. Let's make it the wrestling, okay? It's like if you aren't popping and all of a sudden you get verified, that's the equivalent of walking around with a championship belt like you're the actual champion. Like, no, you ain't. You just bought that. You didn't really earn that. You don't have that. So, we're gonna see what happens. Anyway, let me check my phone for a sec. Yes, if I just cash app the $7.99, I can be verified.
This guy.
Oh, shit.
This guy.
Oh my God, what is wrong with you?
And I think he's supposed to be on air right now, which is hilarious.
And don't call me back with that nonsense. Thanks.
This guy. Guy. Oh,
all right. Well, I was gonna do another story, but I feel like we've covered enough. JD saying I was somebody. Now my mother even has a check.
Wow.
Everybody getting yeah. I cannot wait for this news to reach Facebook in 3 months.
That's funny. That's funny. That's funny. I will say this though, wrestling related. Tonight's going to be a big night on SmackDown because, of course, you've got the Usos defending not just the World Tag Titles, but obviously going for the big 483-day record, and they're taking on the team who holds that record, the New Day. Obviously, if the New Day wins, they become 12-time or 13-time tag champions. Nice. If the Usos win, of course, they're going to go on and take that record. I have a theory in terms of what I think is going to happen tonight, and it's probably going to be a hot take. But I think the Usos lose tonight. I think the New Day becomes the tag team champions. And here's why. Here's why. I think what's going to happen is Sammy and Jay will get into some sort of argument that will cost the Usos the tag team titles. It maintains the record for the New Day, but think about what this does to the bloodline. It puts a massive split in the bloodline because now Roman is like, wait a minute, hold on. I told y'all to get this together. Y'all didn't, and now it costs us the chance to have the greatest tag team of all time. Heads are going to roll, and then they go into War Games as a somewhat splintered faction. Things get very, very interesting. I think it makes a lot more sense for the New Day to walk out tonight as your unified tag team champions.
For them to do it this early, you think? Because I think that's how Usos will lose, will be because of Sammy. But this early?
Well, here's the thing. I think this is significant. I mean, it's not really early. They've had it for a year and a half, 400, almost 80 days at this point, right? So to get them to come so close to the record and then they miss it, I mean, they could regain the titles next week.
Of course.
They could, but it still won't be that 483-day record. And believe you, it's like funny story. You're gonna learn some more about me, TK. I was the kid in school that never missed a day of school. I went my entire scholastic career without missing a day of school, with the exception of one day. When I was a senior, I was taking a trip to the University of Virginia, and they were doing the spring fling. I could have left on that Friday. I left on a Thursday, missed a day of school, threw the whole thing up in the air, all that I worked for all that time, left, and ultimately didn't go to UVA. How about that?
Before you finish, let me... Sorry.
I got a warrant for that? Oh,
yes. I mean, I'm all for education, but the mark of pride.
So
I worked on. Listen,
hilarious.
There were days I was sick that I made my way to school, and I'd come home early. Like, all
Yeah.
those kinds of things.
Like
And
those people got special recognition for that.
They
type of
did.
thing.
We
like
at
you made the
graduation,
news.
You got
Yeah,
a
at
t-shirt every
graduation.
year.
Yeah.
And then at graduation, you got special. It was me and another girl, Christine Schubert, and we were the ones. And I let it go
And you
for
became
that.
the
I
two.
can never get
Damn.
that back. That is the bloodline tonight. They lose that, we got a problem tonight. They will no longer have perfect attendance.
Career.
That is amazing.
Wow. Okay.
Once again, messing with Thomas Jefferson done messed up a black person again.
Oh boy.
Wow.
Oh, there we go.
Well, that's why we call him professor, because
Facts. I was
didn't
gonna
miss
say,
a day of
yeah.
school.
After a while, you started teaching the classes. You was like, yo, here.
Actually, teacher, it happened in 1875, not
Wow.
1876. If you check here on page 392.
Right. It says it right here.
That's right here. Did you know? It's right here. I seen it. Did you know?
Oh gosh.
Okay,
Yeah.
well, here we are.
There we
With
are.
that being
New
said,
Day,
Professor,
tag
where
team
can everybody?
champions tonight.
Well, actually, yeah. To piggyback off that, it always is between New Day and the Usos. I always never know who to cheer for
It's
because I'm
amazing.
just a fan of both. But I like that theory because now the New Day gets another championship, and then at the event that falls off, they start again. But then that will kind of almost reset for an additional storyline, which we all think, and I know we're going to keep it in the box, so I'll leave it at this sentence. We all think that a lot of big things are going to happen for WrestleMania. And the story we did talk about, which I'll just touch on lightly, Nick Khan, which is LA. Like, there are a lot of celebrities who live here. Nick Khan has been allegedly reaching out to different celebrities to be part of WrestleMania, which, I mean, why not? It makes sense. So I think there's going to be a lot of big things happening. And I think if Roman Reigns is still the champion, and it makes sense for the Usos to also have that championship too, going into WrestleMania. But I like the theory of New Day taking it. So, but we'll see what happens.
We'll see.
I mean,
we'll see.
Triple H is the author of all this. With that being said, Professor, where can everybody find you?
You can find me, of course, at Bonnerfied on all of the platforms. You can check out All Things Southern Honor on IWTV. You can check out All Things Battle Slam on Fight TV, and we'll be announcing very, very soon when Battle Slam Thriller will be available. I'm really excited about that. And you can check out all of the merch at ProWrestlingTees.com/Bonnerfied.
And Kane McCoy, where can everybody find you?
Yeah, find me at Kane McCoy, CainMcCoy, or you can follow me for zesty tweets about flip-flop wrestlings on my verified, trust me, Twitter account at Braun Strowman. It's going to actually be
Shout out to Barry Monkey, JD, Oddchild, King Sammy, Santana, Casey, Ty, all you guys for joining us. This was very entertaining. We learned so much. Happy Veterans Day to everybody who has served. Thank you for your service. You can follow Women's Wrestling Talk on all social media platforms at www.talkpod.com. You can check out our website, www.talkpod.com for our website, www.talkpod for all our social media platforms. Other than that, you can follow me on everything at TK Trinidad. Thank you guys so much for watching Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Ciao, y'all.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.